Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. Before we went on a break, you were talking about the impact of Presidential Working Party on school equipment production unit. Please continue.
Thank you, Mike. I was just mentioning that the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform has made several recommendations across the country or across the education sector, but specifically for SEPU, this Presidential Working Party has made recommendations that are going to transform the entire operation and the face of SEPU. One is that it has recommended the change of name. So we're going to change from being called SEPU to School Learning and Instructional Material Center. And so from there we can see the refocusing of SEPU mandate. So we're going to be a differently new institution once this recommendation come into operation. Secondly, it has also enhanced the mandate of SEPU, that beside what we are doing now, SEPU will be, SEPU, which is now the School Learning Instructional Material Center, will be undertaking the process of procuring and distribution of learning and instructional material in the country. So we'll be able to look at the entire landscape of the production, procurement, and distribution of learning and instructional material in this country. And that is a mandate that has come, that wasn't there before, and is now enhanced. So, Mike, the organization will totally be different from what it is now in terms of its name and in terms of mandate. The mandate will be now enhanced and will be able to ensure the challenges, what we mentioned to earlier, will now be squarely under SEPU to address the issues of how to procure textbooks and other learning material, because we are now going to broaden what is it that falls under learning and teaching material in this country, and be able to bring all that you can define under that, under the mandate of SEPU. Okay. So you can now see that impact is profound for SEPU of the Presidential Working Party. Okay. And already have measures in place. Once we get the green ahead of a parent ministry on what to do next, we'll be able to take up this new mandate. Okay.
Briefly talk about and give an overview of the current availability of school equipment as at now, especially now that we have transitioned fully to CBC.
Okay. I think we have had several recommendations relating to the distribution in this country, because we have what we can say uneven distribution of school and learning or instructional material in this country. We have schools that initially categorized maybe as national schools, and these schools have a long history in terms of equipment and in terms of total overall infrastructure. Then we also have, on the contrary, on the other side, schools that we do not have infrastructure at all. You must have had cases where learners are learning under trees and are sitting on stones, and they are doing their work just under the trees. So that is the country we are in. We have that diverse in terms of learning and equipment. So we cannot generally say all schools are well endowed in terms of learning and instructional material. So there need to be an analysis of the distribution of this and be able to see how are we able to bring in equity in these schools across the country. But generally, we have those disparities that exist within the education landscape in our country.
So with the implementation of the CBC, the schools now, how can schools adapt to meet the needs of their students? Because right now there are many students, they have experienced an influx of students given the kind of curriculum they are undertaking. So how can schools adapt in terms of infrastructure, teaching methods, and educational tools?
Okay. So let's start from teaching method. Under CBC, a teacher is becoming more of a facilitator than what we used to know as a typical teacher. A typical teacher would be a teacher who would be knowing it all and be able to lead from the front.
Yes.
But we're now looking at the teacher as a facilitator of the teaching learning process. What that brings into mind is the way the teacher is trained in terms of the core teaching areas. Those will remain.
Yes.
But the pedagogy or the approach of teaching is what is going to change. So one is there will be need, and I know it's been going on, for refresher training for teachers,
yes,
just to see that now under CBC we are supposed to have a student more active, more actively involved in the learning process.
Yes.
So that's one component about transforming the teacher in terms of refresher training. And I know that TSC has been undertaking that jointly with KICD and across the country since the inception of CBC.
Yes.
The other component has been what has been looked at as been claimed that in terms of resources, CBC is intense. But I think it looks at the creativity of what the learners can be able to do together with the parents, because a number of them could be what is already there, and we're trying to have how creative can we be able to utilize that. Thirdly, the government has capitation for schools to take care of these needs, and I know even following yesterday's presidential announcement, the funding in terms of taking funds to school, that has already been taken care of.
Yes.
So the schools can be able to prioritize their needs depending on this funding that comes on board.
Yes.
So if you look at this transition and you look at the issues of infrastructure and you look at the teacher himself, there are already measures that have been taken, but those measures are not conclusive. They're not 100%. I think I should say it's a work in progress across the board in terms of resources,
yes,
and also in terms of personnel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about school learning equipment, we also have to consider standards, because now the CBC is has an adequate focus on the practical aspect of learning. So, if you're talking about standards, how now do we determine the standards of this equipment that that the schools are getting?
Okay. All right, thank you. The issue of standards for all learning material is a mandate of KICD. So KICD, for you to be able to use any of the equipment or resource within a school, it must be validated or evaluated and validated by KICD. Now, I want to give you a few examples. We, for example, at SEPU, we have what we call the science kit. And this science kit takes care of integrated science, which is offered at junior school. Once you've looked at the designs of what is required, and then we're able to come up with what we're calling a science kit and forward it to KICD to be able to quality check.
Yes.
So that they ensure whatever we are putting there in terms of the learner, does it relate to the grade of the learner? Does the knowledge or the writing relate to the grade of that learner? So the quality control of most of the resources is undertaken by KICD. But I also like to mention that even at SEPU, we have also mechanism to check on our own quality on some of those items that may not necessarily go through maybe KICD. For instance, we have a mobile lab, and a mobile lab is is an innovation that we've come up with to ensure that in cases of where we have inadequate lab facilities, and a school is not able to construct a 4-wall unit, and they call it a lab, they can be able to get to SEPU for purposes of acquiring a mobile lab. And what quality measures have we put in place? We've ensured that we have our research first in terms of the concept of that mobile lab. Then we have also internal approvals that are checked at management and eventually checked by the board. And we now have KP on board, which has looked and also patented this mobile lab. So for items like that, because we go beyond the mobile lab, we go beyond, for example, the science equipment, and we also do basic equipment that we may need. For example, if you needed a double-deck bed for your school, then SEPU is able to provide that for you. What are we looking at in terms of quality? We are looking at, for example, the gauge, the quality of those metal that we're going to use, that we're not using substandard metal for purposes of quality. So we have in place various mechanisms to check on quality. One, we have KSIDO on one part, but also we have within SEPU measures to ensure that what we produce and what we design, produce, and distribute is also of quality.
Yes.
We have also got feedback from our clients, for example, on a number of equipment that we've been able to supply in relation to the quality. And we also use this quality to enhance. We've had positive that the material or the equipment we're supplying are good quality. We've been also using such feedback to ensure that some of those items are quality. Thank you.
Now, in your own assessment, as we come to a close, with CBC in full motion now, parents are decrying overburdening, especially when it comes to school projects. In your own assessment or in your own view, is the education system addressing this concern, especially with regards to the execution of these projects?
Thank you. Maybe I can draw it back to the Presidential Working Party, which made a recommendation for rationalization of the learning area. And we're aware that the Ministry of Education on 20th of December released a circular which was rationalizing the various learning areas and bringing down some and ensuring that that complaint that it was overloaded, so to say, is taken care of. For example, we have between grade 4 and 6, those learning areas have been reduced to 8, or not reduced, actually rationalized to 8. So that's aspect of the cry that was there, that CBC is a burden, it's too much, was already addressed by the Presidential Working Party. And the Ministry of Education has gone ahead to ensure that it has sent out a circular that reduces what was perceived as the burden. But I think what is the bottom line of CBC is about competencies, of exposing a learner to various, to bring out the various competencies of a learner. So that if it is broad-based, you can be able to find your way out. Unlike when it is narrow, and you're not able, for example, we can't bring out you as a musician, a dramatist, or a footballer in you, because we are strictly saying it is physics, chemistry, mathematics. So there are those advantages that we can also look at within CBC.
As we wind up, your closing shot.
I would like to tell the public that the School Equipment Production Unit, which is a semi-autonomous government agency, it should be a supplier to go to for any equipment within the school. We have a country-wide, we can be able to distribute these items across the country, and we make appeal for any need. For example, as at now, the biggest need in a number of schools has been the issue of mobile lab. We have the science kits with us, and we also have chemicals for practicals in schools in terms of quality. So we want to make an appeal to the public, the education stakeholders, that SEPU, which is a long road here in Nairobi, and can be able to distribute this, whatever you need in relation of equipment, is available to serve, and we're a government entity. We are not profit-minded in terms of our pricing, so we make a request and an appeal for stakeholders within the education sector to choose SEPU as their destination for school and learning equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you.
We have been talking to Dr. Joel Mabonga, who is the CEO of School Equipment Production Unit. This segment comes to a close now. My name is Mike Migwe. Good morning.